They say love is blind, but your subconscious? Your subconscious sees everything. If you're here watching this video, it's because you probably suspect your partner. Maybe you've even seen something that left you questioning everything, a text message that appeared and disappeared too quickly, a phone call they took in another room, the way they suddenly started working late more often. You came here looking for answers because something inside you already knows the truth. You just need confirmation. And that's exactly what we're going to give you. Part of you has been paying attention while another part hoped things would go back to normal. You've been noticing micro-expressions, energy shifts, behavioral changes that you tried to explain away. But here's what most people don't realize. When someone is being unfaithful, they can't help but leave traces. Not just digital footprints or physical evidence, but emotional and psychological patterns that are impossible to hide completely. The human mind and body are terrible at sustained deception, especially with someone who knows you intimately. Your partner might think they're being careful, but betrayal changes people in ways they don't even realize. It changes how they move through space, how they respond to touch, how they look at you when they think you're not paying attention, how they overcompensate in some areas while becoming distant in others. You've probably noticed some of these shifts already. Maybe you've been second-guessing yourself, wondering if you're being oversensitive or imagining things. You're not. Part of your mind has been doing detective work while your heart was trying to protect itself. It's been cataloging inconsistencies, filing away moments that didn't feel right, building a case you weren't ready to examine until now. So let's talk about the 9 signs that will confirm what part of you already knows. These aren't random suspicions or jealous paranoia. These are patterns that emerge when someone is living a double life. And by the end of this video, you'll know exactly where you stand. The first thing that changes isn't what they do, it's how they feel when they're around you. Sign number 1, their energy shifted. You felt it before you could explain it. Maybe they come home and there's this distance. Not physical distance, but something else. Like they're thinking about someone or somewhere else even when they're sitting right next to you. Their hugs feel different. Still there, still happening, but lacking that natural ease you used to share. It's like they're going through the motions of being present while their mind is elsewhere. You might catch them staring into space more often, lost in thoughts they don't share. And when you ask, "What are you thinking about?" the answer comes too quickly, too rehearsed. There's a restlessness about them now. They can't seem to settle into moments with you the way they used to. Always checking the time, always thinking about the next thing, never fully present in the conversation you're having. Sometimes you catch them looking at you with an expression you can't quite read. It's not love exactly, it's not indifference either. It's something more complicated, like they're seeing you through the lens of something you don't understand yet. Sign number 2, they're suddenly more conscious of their appearance. New clothes appear in their wardrobe, clothes you didn't shop for together. They're spending more time in front of the mirror, trying on different outfits for what they claim are regular work days. The gym membership they barely used becomes a priority. New skincare routine, hair products you've never seen before. They're putting effort into how they look in a way that feels intentional. Like they're dressing for someone specific. They might start asking your opinion about their appearance in ways they never did before. Does this shirt look good on me? Do you think I should try a different hairstyle? But there's something performative about these questions, like they're testing how their changes look to someone who knows them well. Their grooming habits shift. They're showering more frequently, sometimes immediately after coming home, using mouthwash before bed when they never cared about that before, taking longer to get ready for work, paying attention to details that used to be automatic. And here's the thing about these first 2 signs. They happen because betrayal requires emotional investment. When someone is building a connection with another person, their body language changes, their self-awareness increases, they start existing differently in their own skin. They become more aware of themselves because someone new is paying attention to them, and that attention changes how they move through the world. But it's not just about energy and appearance. Their relationship with their phone changed overnight. Sign number 3, the phone became sacred territory. Remember when you could casually pick up their phone to check the time or use their camera? Those days are over. Now there's a protective energy around that device that wasn't there before. They take it to the bathroom, it goes with them to get a glass of water, it's face down on the table during dinner, but their attention keeps drifting to it like they're expecting something important. When it buzzes, there's this micro-expression that flashes across their face, sometimes excitement, sometimes anxiety, but never the casual indifference they used to have toward notifications. And if you happen to glance at the screen when a message comes through, the phone gets flipped over faster than you can process what you might have seen. They've developed new charging habits too. The phone that used to charge on the nightstand now charges in another room, or they've suddenly become very concerned about battery life, always making sure it's charged and ready to go. Sometimes you'll notice them typing messages and then deleting them, starting to show you something on their phone and then thinking better of it. These moments of almost sharing followed by quick withdrawal. Sign number 4, their digital habits shifted completely. They're suddenly protective of their laptop screen when you walk behind them. Browser windows get minimized. They've developed this habit of clearing their browser history regularly, something they never cared about before. Social media behavior changes too. They're less likely to post couple photos. When they do post, you notice they're careful about what's visible in the background, what might give away where they've been or who they've been with. Their messaging patterns with you have changed. Responses take longer. The tone feels different, more formal somehow, like they're being careful about what they say even in casual conversation. They might have new apps on their phone that they didn't have before, messaging apps you don't recognize, games that seem more sophisticated than their usual preferences. When you ask about them, the explanations are vague. Their password habits change. Things that used to be open suddenly require passwords. They'll say it's for security, but the timing feels coincidental with all the other changes you've been noticing. But here's what's really telling. They've become experts at explaining away these changes. Work requires more privacy now. They're just being more careful about security. Everyone's becoming more conscious about digital boundaries. The explanations are always logical, always reasonable, and that's exactly what makes them suspicious. Technology reveals everything, but intimacy? Intimacy conceals even more. The way they touch you tells a different story now. Sign number 5, physical intimacy became complicated. It's not just about sex, though that probably changed too. It's about all the small touches that used to happen naturally. The hand on your back when they pass behind you in the kitchen. The automatic way they used to reach for your hand while watching TV. Those casual, unconscious moments of connection have become rare. And when physical intimacy does happen, there's something performative about it. Like they're trying to prove something rather than simply being present with you. They might close their eyes more during intimate moments. Stay quiet when they used to talk. It feels like they're somewhere else, with someone else, even when they're right there with you. The rhythm of your physical relationship has changed. Maybe they're more aggressive, trying to create intensity to mask the emotional distance, or maybe they're more passive, going through the motions without the engagement that used to be natural. You might notice they shower immediately after being intimate, or they'll pick up their phone right afterward when they used to stay and talk or just be close. The afterglow that used to bring you together now seems to make them uncomfortable. Even non-sexual touch feels different. Hugs that used to linger now feel brief and obligatory. They might pat your back during a hug instead of really holding you. Their hands feel different on your skin, less familiar, more careful. Sign number 6, conversations lost their depth. Remember when you used to talk for hours? When they'd share random thoughts, work drama, future plans, silly observations about life. Those conversations have been replaced by logistics. Did you pay the electric bill? What time is your meeting tomorrow? Can you pick up groceries? When you try to go deeper, to connect on an emotional level like you used to, they seem uncomfortable, distracted, like they're saving their emotional energy for someone else. They've developed this habit of turning conversations back to practical matters. Ask them how they're feeling, and they'll tell you about their schedule. Try to discuss the relationship, and suddenly they need to check something on their phone. Stories about their day become shorter and less detailed. They used to tell you about co-workers, funny interactions, frustrations with projects. Now their workday gets summarized in a few words. Fine, busy, same as always. When you share things that used to interest them, your own work stories, something funny that happened, plans you're excited about, their responses feel automatic. That's nice. Sounds good. They're listening enough to respond, but not enough to engage. Future conversations become awkward. Plans that used to excite both of you now seem to stress them out. Vacation ideas get postponed. Long-term goals become uncomfortable topics, like they can't see you in their future the way they used to. The most painful part, when you bring up these changes, when you say something feels different between you, they act like you're imagining things, like you're being too sensitive or asking for too much. But the disconnection is real. The emotional distance is measurable. And deep down, you both know it. However, the most revealing sign isn't what they're withholding from you. Guilt makes people do strange things, and sometimes it makes them try too hard. Sign number 7, they're suddenly more generous than usual. Flowers appear without occasion, expensive gifts for no particular reason. They're taking you to restaurants you've mentioned wanting to try, planning weekend trips, being unusually thoughtful about things they used to forget. At first, it feels nice, like maybe they're just going through a phase of appreciating you more. But there's something forced about it, like they're checking boxes on a list titled "How to be a good partner" rather than acting from genuine feeling. The generosity feels transactional, heavy with unspoken apology for something you're not supposed to know about. These gestures often come after periods of distance or unusual behavior, like they're trying to balance the scales of their own guilt. An expensive dinner after a week of being emotionally unavailable. Surprise jewelry after being secretive about their phone. But here's what's strange. The gifts and gestures don't feel personal anymore. They feel like things anyone would appreciate rather than things specifically chosen for you. Generic romantic gestures instead of thoughtful actions based on really knowing you. The timing never quite makes sense either. Grand romantic gestures on random Tuesdays, expensive presents when money has been tight, planned surprises that feel more like obligations than expressions of love. Sign number 8. They're working overtime to seem normal. They've become almost theatrical in their displays of affection, public hand-holding that feels staged, social media posts about how much they love you that seem designed for an audience of one specific person. They're asking about your day with the kind of focused attention that feels rehearsed, complimenting you in ways that sound like they're trying to convince themselves as much as you. It's like they're performing the role of devoted partner with just a little too much effort. The gestures are all there, but the natural ease is gone. You might catch them practicing conversations or responses. They seem to have prepared answers for questions you haven't even asked yet. Their spontaneity has been replaced by something that feels more calculated. They're suddenly interested in activities you used to do together that they had grown indifferent to. Game nights, couple workouts, cooking together. Things that fell by the wayside are suddenly priorities again, but their participation feels effortful rather than enjoyable. Even their compliments feel different. Instead of noticing specific things about you in the moment, they offer generic praise that could apply to anyone. You look beautiful instead of, I love how that color brings out your eyes. Here's the psychology behind this. Guilt is exhausting. When someone is living a double life, part of their brain is constantly working to manage the deception. And sometimes that manifests as overcompensation. They give you extra attention to balance out the attention they're giving someone else. They buy you gifts to ease the guilt of emotional infidelity. They post about loving you to maintain the public image while privately building something with another person. But overcompensation has a rhythm to it. Periods of excessive attention followed by withdrawal. Expensive gestures followed by emotional distance. It's unsustainable. And eventually, the real feelings show through the performance. And that's when the final, most telling sign reveals itself. And here's the sign that cuts deepest, the one that reveals everything you need to know about what's really happening. Sign number 9. They accuse you of cheating. Out of nowhere, they start questioning your loyalty, asking about co-workers they've never cared about before, wanting to know details about your friendships, your schedule, where you've been, and who you've been with. They become suspicious of your phone habits, your social media activity, the time you spend away from home. They might even go through your messages or ask to see your browser history. The accusations might be subtle at first. You seem different lately. You're being secretive. Are you sure you're just working late? Or they might be direct and confrontational, full-blown arguments about your faithfulness when you've never given them a reason to doubt you. They start asking questions that feel like interrogations. Who were you texting? Why did you take so long at the store? Why are you dressing differently? Questions that assume guilt rather than simply seeking information. Sometimes they'll test you, mentioning someone's name to see your reaction, asking about your plans in ways that feel like they're checking your story against information they already have. They might become possessive in ways that are completely out of character, wanting to know your passwords, asking to see your phone, showing up at places where you said you'd be as if to verify your story. This is projection at its most revealing. When someone is being unfaithful, their guilt creates a psychological need to balance the scales. If they can convince themselves that you're also capable of betrayal, it makes their own actions feel less devastating. It's also a defense mechanism. By putting you on the defensive, they shift focus away from their own behavior. Suddenly you're explaining your innocence instead of questioning their changes. But here's what makes this sign so definitive. The timing never makes sense. These accusations come at moments when you've been most committed, most present, most focused on the relationship. They're accusing you of the very thing they're doing, and that's not a coincidence. When someone who's never been jealous suddenly becomes possessive and suspicious, when someone who trusted you completely starts questioning your every move, it's because they know how easy betrayal can be, because they're doing it themselves. The mirror effect is real. Cheaters assume their partners are capable of the same deception because they're living proof that committed people can cross lines they never thought they would. Now you know. You have all 9 signs. You can see the pattern clearly. But knowing isn't the hardest part. The hardest part is what comes next. Because now you can't unknow what you know. You can't unfeel what you've felt. Every interaction moving forward will be filtered through this new understanding. That uncomfortable feeling in your chest. It wasn't paranoia. It was recognition. Your subconscious was doing its job, picking up on inconsistencies and changes while your heart was trying to protect itself from a painful truth. You were right to trust what you were sensing, right to pay attention to the shifts in energy, the digital secrecy, the emotional distance, the overcompensation, and especially the accusations. The signs don't lie, patterns don't deceive, and your instincts, despite what anyone might have told you, were accurate. This doesn't make the situation easier. If anything, it makes it more complex. Because now you have to decide what to do with this knowledge. Some people will tell you to confront immediately. Others will say to gather more concrete evidence. Some will advise walking away without explanation. Others will suggest trying to work through it. But here's what no one else can decide for you, what you're willing to accept and what you're not. What you know now is that the relationship you thought you were in doesn't exist anymore. Maybe it hasn't existed for a while. The person you're living with is managing a double life, and you've been living with only half the truth. That realization changes everything, not just about them, but about you, about what you deserve, about what you're willing to tolerate, about the kind of love you want to accept in your life. You are stronger than you think, wiser than you've been giving yourself credit for, and more deserving of honesty than you've been receiving. The clarity you have now, even though it's painful, is actually a gift. It's the end of confusion and the beginning of truth. It's the foundation for whatever decision you make next. You trusted your instincts enough to seek confirmation. You had the courage to look for answers even when you were afraid of what you might find. That tells you something important about your own strength. The signs brought you here. But where you go from here, that's entirely up to you. Thank you for watching this video. I know this wasn't easy content to sit through, especially if you recognized your own situation in these signs. If this video helped you understand what you've been feeling, please give it a like. It helps other people who are going through the same confusion find the answers they need. And if you're comfortable sharing, I'd love to hear from you in the comments. Which of these signs resonated most with your experience? Sometimes putting it into words helps make sense of what we've been feeling. Don't forget to subscribe for more content about relationships, psychology, and trusting your instincts. Hit that notification bell so you never miss a video. If you know someone who's been questioning their relationship, someone who's been making excuses for behavior that doesn't feel right, share this video with them. Sometimes we can see clearly for others when we can't see clearly for ourselves. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. If you're here watching this video, it's because you probably suspect your partner. Maybe you've even seen something that left you questioning everything. A text message that appeared and disappeared too quickly, a phone call they took in another room, the way they suddenly started working late more often,